Sean Deveney covers the NBA, longtime NBA writer for the Sporting News. He joins us now on the Sports Bash here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Sean, welcome back. How are you, pal?
I'm doing. I want to hear more of this Titanic discussion. This is riveting radio.
I was getting chastised for never seeing the movie Titanic, and I said,
I'm with you. I've never seen it either, so you're not alone there.
I said, could you picture me sitting at home on my couch and saying, you know what I'm going to do to this today? I'm going to put my feet up and watch Titanic.
Right, exactly. I mean, yeah, there's like a few months window where I might have seen it, and once that window passed,
right.
I'm not going to go back and watch it now.
Well, we got a lot of interesting situations happening in front of the draft here on Thursday night, but the free agency stuff is all over the place. We got a lot of trade stuff, but some of the things that are going on, man, we've got drama all over the place. Minnesota, we've got Jimmy Butler doesn't like playing with Andrew Wiggins. Can we see the Timberwolves, be in play on draft night with a trade?
I think they'd like to, but when you look at the pieces they have, it's really tough to make a deal there. You know, Wiggins has a 5-year, $146 million contract that is kicking in this year. It's not. This is not. It's not like we just got past the first year. It actually starts this year. So that's a pretty big impediment to moving him. They want to sign obviously Karl Anthony Towns to a long-term deal. They'd like to sign.
Does he want to be there?
An extension. Yeah. I look. Yes. He wants to be there in that. Whenever you get offered that first big contract, you take it because the difference between what they can offer and what somebody else would be able to offer is pretty significant. They're not going to trade the guy, so yeah, he's going to wind up signing that extension. But it's a matter of what they do with the rest of the roster. I tell you, for a team that hadn't made the playoffs in 14 years and comes out, wins 47 games, and gets to the playoffs, breaks that drought. Here they are just a few months later, and they really look like they're a mess.
Yeah, that's an interesting storyline because, obviously here in Philly, everybody keeps talking about moving the 10th pick and being in that Kawhi Leonard mix. There's some reports that the Sixers, who have 6 picks, Sean, are trying to package picks and move around. I mean, is the feeling that Philadelphia wants to get out of 10 and move up? And if so, what kind of guy? It seems that they're working out a lot of 3-and-D wing guys.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately they'd like guys who can shoot, and they obviously they want to improve on the perimeter defense, and there should be some guys available who can do that. Maybe some secondary playmakers as well. A guy like Lonnie Walker, for instance. But yeah, I mean that's where they're looking. As far as moving up, I don't quite think they'll be able to do that. I don't think that that they have, besides the 10th pick, I don't think they necessarily have the other assets to warrant moving up, into the top 4 or something like that. So I think they probably wind up staying put with that number 10 pick.
Yeah, I know. That 10 pick there, they're in an interesting spot because they won 52 games. I mean, you don't see too many 50-win playoff teams with a pick that high and the cap space they have. So let me get your take on the whole Kawhi Leonard thing and how attractive Philadelphia would be with their draft choice, their money, their cap situation, and, their current roster situation. A lot of times you don't see these established stars. I keep hearing, well, they don't want to go to these young teams because they're not ready to win.
Right. I mean, obviously this is a ready to win. And I think the thing that the Sixers have going for them that other teams don't is Brett Brown and the relationship that he has from his time in San Antonio with Kawhi. I think that's one of the few things that could get Kawhi to possibly come off the notion of wanting to go to LA, which is repeatedly what I've heard, and I think I'm not alone in that he's a guy who's from LA. He wants to sign the big shoe contract. He can do that in Southern California better than anywhere else. So it's going to take him a lot to get him off of his desire to go to LA. Certainly the relationship with Brett Brown might be one of the few things that could get him that could pull him away from that.
Do you think that the Spurs, who many of us regard as like the smartest franchise in the room most of the time, that they would legitimately say, yeah, we'll comply with the Lakers and we'll try to fix something here? Or are they going to handle it like the Pacers did last year and say, we'll send you where we get the best deal and then let that team figure out what they want to do with you?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is that what if what the Lakers can offer is the best deal? That's part of what's being overlooked here. Is that I keep hearing, well, they're not going to want to help the Lakers. Okay, that's fine. But what if the Lakers, in the end, offer the best package because other teams are going to be scared off by Kawhi's agents telling people that hey, this guy wants to go to L.A. If you trade for him, you get him for a year, and then he's leaving. There's not a lot of teams that are going to want to give up major assets for a guy that they're not sure they're going to be able to keep. So I think that when you put all that together, it might in the end be the Lakers who offer the best package. The question is, would the Spurs then say no just because it's coming from the Lakers and because they'd have to send Kawhi there? I think that would be tremendously foolish. So I don't think in the end that's what's going to happen. I think that the Lakers will offer the best package because other teams will get scared off, and that's where he winds up going. He wants to go to L.A. Any team that puts together a package for San Antonio to get him is going to have to contend with that reality and take that gamble. It's just too big a gamble to take, if you ask me.
Is there any scenario, Sean Deveney, that you see him staying in San Antonio? Because that was the initial talk of like, look, how do you turn down all that money and the max that they're able to give him? But yet now it seems like the tides have changed. Is there any scenario that you see him staying in a Spurs uniform?
I mean, this could all be a smokescreen for sure. I mean, there's no doubt. At this time last year, there was talk that LaMarcus Aldridge wanted out of San Antonio, and that he would be traded on draft night. That all got pulled back. They sort of settled things, and of course he's still a Spurs, signed an extension and had a great year. So is that possible? Yes. I think things have gone much farther. I think the motivations are much different with Kawhi Leonard here than they were with what was going on with LaMarcus Aldridge. I'd be really surprised if he winds up back in San Antonio. Can't say for sure that won't happen, but I'd be really surprised if that's how all this played out.
Now, we know the Lakers don't have their first-round pick this year. They have the Cavs' 2018 first-round pick. If the Spurs want draft picks, if that's what their asking price is to get draft picks back, wouldn't the Sixers and the Clippers or maybe the Celtics be better trade partners for the Spurs?
Yeah, absolutely. But if you're the Celtics and you want to give up some of the picks that they have next year, and that's fine. But again, you're running the risk that he doesn't want to be here. They don't want to go to Boston. So you're giving up those picks for a year of Kawhi Leonard, and you have to ask yourself if that's going to be worth it. If they have to trade away Kyrie Irving in the process and some picks and a guy like a Jaylen Brown or somebody like that, that's a pretty big package to have to give up for what might wind up being 1 year of a guy. So that's why this is tough to suss out because Kawhi has made it pretty clear through his agents that he would like to go to Los Angeles, and that's going to be a tough thing for the Spurs, a tough hurdle for them to get over.
Sean, let's say the Sixers do try to get involved. Is giving a player like Markelle Fultz up too much without that commitment from Kawhi Leonard? And, of course, other things would be needed to be included to make the deal, but Markelle Fultz would be a key piece with no commitment from Kawhi.
Yeah, that might be something that's worth it, just given what we saw from Markelle in year one and the uncertainty around him. Because you're not giving up, a known commodity yourself. That might be something where both sides are taking a gamble there. So that might. But to me, though, I think with Philadelphia, the wider question is how much confidence does Brett Brown have that he's got a good relationship with Kawhi, and over a course of a year could convince him to stay in Philadelphia. That to me is the ultimate question with the Sixers, and whether they would seriously make an offer that the Spurs would be willing to take that would beat out whatever LA could offer.
So that leads into my next question. Of the teams that have a legitimate chance at Kawhi Leonard, which one of those has the ability to put together the best package within reason. In other words, the Sixers aren't dealing Embiid or Ben Simmons, but who is the best stockpile of like talent and assets?
I mean, probably Boston, because they have so many young guys still on their rookie contracts who have also shown something, whether it's Rozier, Jason Tatum, of course, Jaylen Brown. Plus, they have 2 potential lottery picks next year. One from Sacramento. I don't expect Sacramento to suddenly be a playoff team next year. So they'll have a lottery pick from Sacramento next year. And then they have Memphis is protected for the top 8. So there's a chance they get that Memphis pick if Memphis falls out of the top 8. So yeah, I mean that those are some pretty enticing picks right there. And of course they have the young players to offer as well.
Sean Deveney from the Sporting News. Now, you wrote about this a couple of days ago. You think that it's time for the Lakers to make the bold move and put something together here. Would that include Alonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, maybe both?
I think it's got to include whatever the Spurs want. I think the longer this plays out and the more teams that possibly get involved, the worse it is for the Lakers. I think the Lakers need to try to shut this down and put the Spurs in a position where it's too good to pass up. Like I say, I understand that the Spurs are saying that we're not going to help the Lakers, but I just think when push comes to shove, if you've got the best back, it doesn't matter where it comes from. So, I think that in the end, that's what the Lakers ought to do, because they're also in the market for LeBron, of course, this summer. They're in the market for Paul George, and already having Kawhi Leonard locked up. That's going to be something that'll be pretty enticing to those guys. That's how you take the next step for this organization. I think you got to cash in those young assets. No matter how much you like those young guys, I think you got to cash them in and try to make a move now.
How much is that Luol Deng contract going to be a factor in a decision for the Lakers?
Well, they're trying to get rid of it, and they would really, to make a deal for a guy like Leonard work, because he's got the big contract already. They would need him at least to match up the money. So he's going to wind up being that contract's going to wind up being pretty important to them in terms of matching up money. It would also be great for them if they could get rid of it and have as much cap space as possible this summer.
Wow, this Kawhi Leonard stuff. Now, it seems like it has simmered down because there is no confirmation of whether or not he's actually talked to Pops and said, hey, I want to get out of here. This is all hearsay from his side. But you said you've repeatedly hearing that he would like to be in L.A.
I mean, I've heard that in March and April. This has been talked about for. Yeah, this is something that it goes to shoe contracts, because his shoe contract is up and he can only sign. It's because his profile is so low, being in San Antonio, and just really his personality is that way.
Right, but isn't that him more so than his
exactly? Right. Listen, I'm not arguing for the logic of it. I'm saying that this is the thinking of it on the part of his people. He also changed agents last year, and that's when a lot of this stuff started coming up. So you can kind of do the math on that. You've got some agents who want to get, who basically want to get, a much better shoe contract for him, and put him in a position to be to make more endorsement dollars. And they feel like they can't do that in San Antonio. So that's sort of the genesis of all this. And of course he's a Southern California guy. So it's no surprise that that's where he wants to go.
Is there a feeling that like LeBron and Kawhi maybe want to try to play together in some, regardless of where Kawhi ends up, that LeBron would then say, all right, wherever he goes, that team now becomes way up the pecking order? Because like a sense of like, we are tired of this Warriors thing and we've got to do something about it.
Yeah, I think that it would require the right situation, obviously. But yeah, I mean, if Kawhi winds up in L.A., then I think the Lakers have, that much better a chance of landing him. Now, you could say, well, that's still not enough to beat the Warriors, and I'd probably agree with you. But at least it's a start. They'd still have some cap space to work with, and they'd still have some other possibilities of moving some things around and possibly even bringing in Paul George as well. So, there's still some chances to to make that group even better. But in general, I think that if you're LeBron, you're probably tired of getting to the finals and getting your head handed to you by the Warriors, as happened the last 2 years.
Hey, Sean, any news on Paul George? There's some talk that he might consider staying in OKC.
Yeah, and that's always been a possibility. I think the way the season ended probably didn't help things. I think if they can do something with Carmelo Anthony, then that might help. I don't think he wants to go back there if Carmelo's still there. That just didn't work out very well. So, I think, if some things can be smoothed out in Oklahoma City, then I think he'd consider it. And it's something he has to consider too, because look, if LA goes Kawhi Leonard and LeBron and doesn't have the money for Paul George, if the Rockets, wind up signing Chris Paul and Clint Capella and they don't make getting a guy like Paul George a priority, there's not going to be that many great situations out there for Paul George. So he's going to have to consider, keeping the Thunder in the mix just to have a fallback option just in case things don't work out with other teams.
Sean Deveney, NBA writer, Sporting News. There was a report the other day regarding the Cavaliers making a call to the Spurs. Is that just like we're just trying anything to entice LeBron to at least consider us?
Every team called the Spurs about it, they also, I can tell you, they called the Hornets too about Kemba Walker. They've called the Thunder about seeing if something could be worked out with Paul George, if they could possibly get George to because he's got that last year of his contract, so he can opt in and then be traded. That's what Chris Paul did last year with the Clippers, so he would have to opt in first. And then kind of have a wink and a nod guarantee that he would get an extension next summer. So that's they're trying everything. I mean, they're really trying to. But they don't know what LeBron's going to do, obviously. But they're trying everything they can to make it easier for him to stay.
Hey, would you classify Kyrie as a happy camper in Boston right now?
Kyrie's a weird guy. I think that's it. He's a little bit of an odd duck, and so he sometimes he says things and they get sort of blown out of proportion. So he said he wasn't sure if he would re-sign with the Celtics. And that's only that. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for him to do an extension. So of course he's going to hit free agency, and once you hit free agency, you're going to look around, see what else is out there. But I don't think that is an indication that somehow he's not happy with the team. I think it's just, like I say, sometimes he can say some mysterious things, but it's more just his personality than it is, necessarily directed one way or the other.
Hey, if Kawhi Leonard was to leave the Spurs, they cave in and they trade him. I say cave in, but I guess he would force them into a situation they don't want to trade him. Think Popovich might follow him out the door?
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly been thinking that this is just my own speculation. I don't know. I can't say for sure. I don't have any intel on that or anything. But my own speculation would be that this is just so different for Pop. What he's dealt with going from David Robinson to Tim Duncan to this mess. This is not something that he's used to dealing with in the NBA. I don't think he likes it. And so I think it would get him thinking. At the same time, I know he likes a lot of the young guys on that team, DeJounte Murray and guys like that, and he might like to at least see through their development. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if after all this Kawhi business is settled, that Pop says, you know what, I don't really want to do this anymore. Keep in mind, he's the next Team USA coach, so he's got another gig where he's going to be pretty involved with NBA guys on a much easier level than what he's dealing with right now.
Sean's got a lot on the NBA draft at sportingnews.com. I'll give you a couple quickies. Who's your number one player? Not necessarily who is going to go number one, but who's your top guy?
I just think Doncic, and I think he kind of is getting the short end of the stick here just because he hasn't been able to work out with teams. He's in Spain. He's playing in the in the Spanish League Finals this week. So he's not he hasn't really been able to do anything for teams. I think he's been overlooked. But 19 years old, he's been playing professionally in the second best league in the world since he was 16. I think the guy's pretty legit. And like I said, I think he's getting a little overlooked. Because he's not here doing those vaunted one-on-none workouts that everybody gets all drooly over, while this guy's over there playing against 29-year-olds who are many of whom are former NBA vets. So to me, he's the guy I would probably take number one.
Most interesting team to keep an eye on draft night.
I wonder what the heck is going on with Memphis, because they're not bringing in players. They've had a lot of players say no thanks, they seem to be very subtly coming unraveled a little bit. I think they're going to be pretty interesting. They have the number 4 pick. Not sure they're going to keep it. We'll see what they wind up doing. Michael Porter, yay or nay? I'm a nay on him. I just think that the injury risk. I didn't get to see him play much. I don't follow the AAU tournament stuff, so I don't know. Exactly.
You're not missing much.
He is at his best. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? It's hard to tell from those games even as well. So yeah, I mean I don't know. I haven't seen him play much, and the injury stuff would scare me off.
Your under-the-radar favorite guy?
Probably the guy I like is the kid from Creighton, Kyrie Thomas.
Yeah.
Who's just a fantastic defensive player. Two-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year, and is a pretty darn good shooter. You're looking for a 3-and-D guy. There's a chance he could fall away into the 20s. I think somebody will get a pretty good player with him. I like him at 26 for Philadelphia. Sean Deveney, sportingnews.com, at Sean Deveney on Twitter. He's got a lot of stuff on the NBA draft and this NBA offseason. And, of course, the NBA draft Thursday night right here on 97.3 ESPN. He, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Thank you, Sean. All right, guys. Thanks.